Welcome everyone to Unleash Your Creativity. I'm Yvonne Davis and this is David Steele from the Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Network. And this is our program that combines nonviolent communication as developed by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD, and The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron. So we are still early in week 4, which is recovering a sense of integrity. And I'm going to share something that even David doesn't know.
That's not as easy as it sounds.
So, all right. So this is really interesting because I think, we've been watching the transformation unfold. This has not been a theoretical exploration. This has been a true transformational process. And so now coming up on week 4, I am finding, the sense of integrity. I am discovering something about that, about integrity, which I think also includes authenticity and responsibility. So we'll go into more detail on those topics as we move through the week. So just keep that in mind: integrity, responsibility, and authenticity. So one of the things that we've been discovering is that sometimes we have a longing for something, and this creative expression, that's why we're in the program, right? Because there's something we're longing to express creatively, and it's not happening, so we're experiencing ourselves as blocked. So I asked one of my students, so what happens when you think about going and doing the thing that you want to do, like your artwork or your writing or something? And she says, well, I just go do something else. And at first I didn't completely understand it, but then I watched something unfold in my own life. And so that's what I'm going to share today, which was, there's a couple of aspects to this. One is developing work that comes from my heart to fully support myself. And one of the arenas that I work in is I am a tarot astrologer. So I love to do tarot astrology readings for people. It's one of my passions, and it's a way that I earn part of my income every month. So I wanted to expand that business, and so that's one of my goals for creative expression. I was talking to David last night, and I was saying, I'm blocked. I can't, I continue to go back to the same sources of income over and over and over again, even though for me, it's no longer authentic. I'm not sure it ever was, but certainly, that the passion for it is not there, and it's just like a robot going through the motions, and it's no longer authentic. I don't feel like I'm in integrity. I don't feel like the different parts of me are integrated. I feel like there's this one part of me that is false, and just puts on a veil, puts on a mask, and pretends to be a certain person because I have fear and scarcity, and so I think that I have to do that. So and I'm not saying that just because I can acknowledge that I've resolved all the issues, but that was part of being in integrity, which we talked about yesterday. So after we did the video about integrity, and I was thinking about this issue of mine, how I'm longing to create to expand my tarot astrology business so that I can better support myself instead of going back to this other source of income that no longer feels authentic. And so we did the video, and I talked to David about it, and then got really quiet and relaxed, and just kind of lied down on the couch and drifted off and took a nap. And what was interesting about that was that as I was sort of in this kind of drifty, relaxed space, I had this thought, well, your student had said that when she said she was going to do something, and I asked, well, why didn't you do it? What happened instead? She said, I just went and did something else. And I suddenly realized here I was talking about something that was so alive for me, and I was so passionate about it. There's this business that I want to expand. That's my creative expression. That's where I feel authentic and integrated. And yet I didn't do anything. I just went and took a nap. And so there I was, sort of lying in this calm, relaxed, drifty space, and I'm having this realization. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I totally understand what she was saying, because I do that too. And I hadn't been aware of it. So now that was it. One piece of exciting news that I wanted to share was that I had that realization. Just because I'm teaching this doesn't mean that I am a fully enlightened being who doesn't still have blocks to work through. I have blocks. I watch the same things happen in me that happen in my students. And in some sense, I think that's actually maybe, on some level, maybe it's even necessary so that I can empathize, so that I can understand, and we can work through these things together. Well, what was interesting was then the next morning, actually when I decided, it's getting late, I need to head home. So I got up and I said goodbye. And I had a realization that in the past, if I talked to David about this problem that I was having, I got this block, I don't know how to develop my business. And then if I just got relaxed and didn't do anything, then I would actually blame David, and I would say, you're just narcotizing me. You always tell me to relax and everything will work out, and you're just narcotizing me. And look here, I asked you, what do you think I should do about this? And you just said relax. So I did, and I ended up taking a nap, and it's all your fault. Well, anyway, what was so different this time was I didn't go into blame. I didn't blame, shame, or guilt trip myself or David in my mind. I just realized, it's like this part of me was so observational. I just realized, oh, I said I wanted to build my business, and here I am taking a nap. And there was no guilt, shame, or blame. It was just a pure observation. And then I also realized that the relaxation was a necessary part of the process, because it was the fact that I relaxed that I was able to have this awareness. So the funny thing was it wasn't just like, oh, okay, well, now I'm going to get on with it and take some action. It was more like, oh, okay, that was actually part of the process. There was no part of all the events that unfolded, there was no part that was extraneous. They all were like dominoes. Each one needed to fall in order to reach this observation that I had. So anyway, I left, and there was no shame, blame, or guilt tripping in any of my thoughts or feelings. I just observed, and I took responsibility. That was my choice. I was the one who chose to lie down and relax instead of doing anything. So then the next morning, I woke up, and I noticed myself slipping into that blaming game that I used to do, where I would think, so often I ask David, what do you think I should do? And he doesn't give me the answer. Why can't he help me? He's a successful businessman. Why can't he just help me? Even just tell me what he thinks I should do. And then I'm like, oh, wow, do I think that's David's responsibility? I mean, it's one thing to ask, but it's not his responsibility. It's mine. I'm the one who has to make it happen. I'm the one who has to commit and to take the action and take responsibility. And I suddenly realized, well, I got up and I got some work done in the morning, and I didn't blame anyone. I just took responsibility. And it was so different than the way I've ever reacted before, that I knew something was going to change when all of that unfolded. So I wanted to share that little story with you.
So these are my ears. These are the utterances from your mouth. The utterances from your mouth strike my ears, and I hear music. So that talk was music to my ears. So does that mean to be in integrity, you have to give up blame?
Unfortunately, oh no, we can't
But
blame
what if it
anybody.
really is somebody else's fault?
Okay, how is it somebody else's fault?
Doesn't matter. I don't want it. I want it to be some.
Oh, so we'll twist reality around such that we can make it somebody else's fault. And then we don't have to take responsibility anymore. Should we do that?
No, that's not integrity.
Oh.
Not this week. Wait till next week when we're on to something else.
Okay.
So to be in integrity, I'm hearing there's a component of that to be really aware of yourself and finding a level of honesty where you really see your role and what's going on, rather than externalizing, having that internal locus of control. So to be in integrity, internal locus of control helps. And not externalizing and making other people, in my mind at least, be responsible for what happens to me. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like energetically, the way I kind of envision it is external locus of control is when like all these energetic strands of our being are going out there and draining energy, letting other people hook us. You're like, oh, now I'm in control of his life, because I've got this energetic
I surrender.
I can make him do what I want. So, yes, he's like a limp puppet now because I'm pulling the strings, the energetic strings. So that's what it's like when we give up our power to an external locus of control, is that we become like a marionette. We give up our power to someone else to pull the strings, the energetic strings. So, yeah, so we can't, I mean, you can if you want to. You can give up power if you want to. But because it's kind of scary taking responsibility. It's scary being responsible. You can't blame anyone or anything anymore. It is scary. And yet, there's freedom and power in responsibility. And I guess I just reached a place last night and this morning when I decided I was tired of being blocked. I was tired of giving up my power to something external to me. And I didn't even know. I wasn't even fully aware of the fact that how I was giving my power away. I was waiting for someone else to show me what to do. And like I said, it's not that you can't ask for something. In NVC, a big part of that is learning how to make requests. That's different than putting the power in someone else's hands, because that person that you make a request of has the right to say no.
So you talked all about an external locus of control. Talk about an internal locus of control.
Yeah, so like, energetically and physically, there is, there's something, well, we could describe it as like being straight, standing tall. So your spine is straight, your shoulders are straight, your head is straight, and you can breathe. And what's interesting about that is that when you're standing straight and tall, the front of your body is exposed. And that's where your vulnerability is. And the irony is that it's by allowing yourself to be vulnerable and authentic that you actually become powerful. So all these things go together. The inner locus of control, the authenticity, the integrity, the responsibility, and the vulnerability. They all go together. Because it's very vulnerable to take responsibility, and yet it's extraordinarily powerful. There is nothing more powerful than being able to respond, and that's what responsibility is. Does that help? Is that like a good description of inner locus of control?
I think it was a good description of the physiological components, which make sense because you're talking about internal, so it's going to be more physiological than external. External is more abstract.
Yeah.
I think there's something about influence. That when we have an internal locus of control, we know that we influence our environment, that we influence our world. And if you build a house on a foundation, on ground that's unsettled, and the ground shifts, and there's cracks in the house, there's cracks in the foundation. And so when I influence my world, the way I influence my world, if I'm not in integrity, then that influence is chaotic and scattered and incoherent. And so it's easy to feel overwhelmed and helpless. Whereas if I'm in integrity, which is like a foundation that is really stable, then that influence in my world is strong, it's coherent, it's effective, and I tend to enjoy my interactions with the world.
Yeah. One of the things I'm noticing, because when I felt that in my body, I had that realization that I need to take action. And if I don't take action, then I'm responsible for the outcome. I can't blame anyone. And when I realized that, I did actually feel a change physiologically. And I could feel that I was carrying myself differently. I was moving in the world differently. It was almost like wearing a different body. And I could, I can
relate to that.
Yeah, I could feel it energetically, like a surge of energy, and a sense of clarity and purpose. But what I also noticed is that, like what I said to David, is I'm wearing my big girl pants now, but I don't really know how to wear them yet, because like maybe I was too much in a paradigm of power over, power under. Not that somebody else was necessarily trying to have power over me, but that because I saw myself as not having the knowledge, not having the capacity, then I put myself in a power under position. So taking more responsibility, being willing to act, no longer blaming even subconsciously if something doesn't work out. There's nobody to blame. There's nothing to blame.
And I was going to blame my subconscious. No, I was going to blame those neural firing patterns and that habitual behavior that I'm helpless in the face of because it's embedded in my very cellular nature, so I might as well give up.
Yeah. Well, as it turned out, I did feel differently physiologically, almost like I was wearing a different body and carrying myself differently. Energy running through me, very strong, powerful, and have a sense of clarity. And but yeah, there was a little bit of discomfort because I'm like, I don't necessarily sort of carry myself with this masculine energy, which often David and I had talked about how if I was going to be a successful businesswoman, I needed to be able to access my masculine yang energy. It's just a fact. You know, it doesn't mean that I become a man, but I have to be able to access that energy because it is a masculine energy. Feminine is receptive, and that's a beautiful way to be. But to go out into the world and to create something, that is a masculine energy. And you need both, really, I would say. There needs to be a time for like taking it in and receiving, and there needs to be a time for putting out action in the world.
So would you say that a balance of masculine and feminine energy is a fundamental component of an internal locus of control and being in integrity?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, okay. Because as I've said many times, integrity and integration have the same root. So, and integration is, you know, with all these different energetic threads and such, they get woven together, they get integrated so that they're pointing in the same direction. They're moving toward the same goal and the same purpose, same values, same core. So that's integration, and that's integrity. But as I said, it did feel a little bit uncomfortable because it was unusual to have that kind of masculine energy coming forward in me. And I realized that I might even make some people, well, I can't make them feel uncomfortable, but they might become uncomfortable because they're not used to me that way. And that needs to be okay with me too. That people might respond to me differently and not always in the way I might like because I'm different. So
not trying to get too big for your britches, are you there, little missy?
Yeah, somebody might think that, you know, and I have to be okay with that because, you know, I really want to have that masculine energy so that I can go out and do the things I need to do. But I had also mentioned earlier in this program about like a dog that has a collar on it, and it gets triggered if there's an invisible fence with some high-pitched noise or discomfort to
electric shock.
Yeah, like an electric shock. And so that's part of it. Is I had some thoughts, and I became more aware, more conscious, and then in that space opened up with more consciousness, I had the opportunity to make a different choice, and that different choice literally changed me physically and externally. I could feel it in my body. People I probably could tell just by looking at me, and that also meant stepping beyond that invisible fence. That meant facing the discomfort. Because there's always a little bit of discomfort in things that are unfamiliar, you know. So ultimately it can lead to experiences in your life that are much more fulfilling. And that's why we're in these transformational programs, is because we really want to have a more fulfilling life. We want to expand ourselves out to be able to have experiences that have not otherwise been accessible to us because we were in that comfort zone behind that invisible fence. And to get to the things that are beyond that fence, we have to be willing to move beyond that fence. We have to be willing to be comfortable with discomfort. It's just, you know, it's just part of the process. So, anything else you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. That feels pretty complete.
Yeah, pretty complete.
Okay. So, as I said, as we move through this week on integrity, we'll be discussing more about these topics of responsibility and integration and authenticity and vulnerability, and just hope that you can all stay with us because this is challenging work here. So we're going to bring this to a close now, and that means it's time. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click like. And if you have any comments, put them in the boxes below. And please share with your social media and friends and family, because we're working really hard here to create a community, and it takes all of us. So again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.